Hello everybody, my name is Ratnus, and welcome to my guide to Phase 2 of Mythic Raszageth. This is a little bit easier than Phase 1, I would say, although the challenge is reaching this phase with everybody alive, with no battle reses used, and with people getting here on time from the first intermission. So you can see in our kill poll, we reached here well early, and the Frost side never reached here super early, but it's fine, it doesn't matter too much. But as soon as Raszageth shows up here, you can start blasting. I use potions and cooldowns and stuff as soon as the boss starts here. Damage against the boss and damage against the absorb shields are both important in this phase. You want to make sure you're breaking the absorb shields quickly enough that you're not dying. But other than that, you don't want to use every cooldown on them because you also need to do good damage to the boss itself, and you lose your damage buff as soon as you break the shield. So, how does the shield work on Mythic? Pretty similar to Heroic. Everybody is going to get a mark, and you're going to need to stack up with people with the same mark as you, but unlike Heroic, you're going to instantly die if you touch somebody of the opposite mark as you. So we all immediately spread, and we make sure that we are not going to stand on top of anybody and therefore maybe get the opposite mark as them. And then our rule for this is the red marks, the X marks, go under the boss as quick as they can, and they move first. If there's ever about to be a traffic collision, the red people have right of way. And the blue people instead want to form a group somewhere on the boss's tail side, one or two groups or three of blue people all stacked up on each other. So actually, I played this part fairly poorly. Let's explain what's happening here. Because the way this works is you get a damage buff as soon as you're stacked on top of anybody else, and a healing buff as well, of the same color as you. So what I should have done here is I should have just ran on top of my friend there with the blue. But instead I leapt because I was leaping over to get onto this blue stack as soon as possible. I realized my mistake. I went to go rescue this person, rescued them, but then they got inverted anyways, which is the other Mythic mechanic that changes your color and makes you then run and go into the other stack. So then I had to walk back over to this side anyways. So it was a little bit ugly there. I should have just walked left, and then when they got inverted, probably leapt all the way into the stack. And then, yeah. You can see we broke this shield after 13 seconds. 11 to 15 is a good range for breaking that first shield. The way that inversion works on that shield is as soon as you get inverted, you go. You get a 3-second grace period where you're not going to explode anybody, and you preserve your damage buff. At the end of that grace period, you are going to explode if you're touching somebody of your old color. So as soon as you get that inversion, you go. You're going to want a weak aura that air horns you during your inversion, which I'll put in the description of this video if you're interested, and that will make your life fairly easy on that. As soon as that shield ends, the sooner you break the shield, the longer the boss is just going to AFK after the shield breaks. It's good to break the shields early, therefore, but it's good to then continue doing damage as well. So you don't want to commit too much damage to the shields, but you don't want to like stop damage to stay in the shield longer or anything like that. You want to break the shields nice and quick without overcommitting or losing cooldown usage to do so. Now here comes the fulminating charges. So we saw after the first shield, boss AFKs for a little bit. Then we get the pushback, the Tempest Wing. On Mythic difficulty, the Tempest Wing AoEs around you whenever you go through it. You see this blue explosion? It's a pretty big AoE. I think it's 6 yards, and it does damage to anybody that's in that as well. So you want to be a nice spread before this wing comes out, and then really powerful eddy effects like Blink that just mean you don't take any damage from the wing. Very good. Transcendence, Demonic Circle, Void Elf, those sorts of things, really, really strong. You can use Rescue to get through this and to bring your priests through this wing, because they otherwise will take several ticks. Rescue does mean that the priest and the evoker are going to tick each other, but your evokers can talent into Twin Guardians to give themselves a shield and the person they're targeting a shield, and that kind of makes up for it, and it's worth to therefore use an evoker rescue or life grips and stuff to get through this wing as well. We did assign some of that, and our priests and evokers and stuff had a lot of talking about doing that. Now here come the first fulminating charges. So right after this wave, a couple seconds later, before that wave even really exits the platform, we are spread for charges. Now, the way we spread for charges, these charges can target anybody in the raid except for the tanks, so everybody else in the raid is spread out kind of in an arc behind the boss. We got pretty lucky here. You can see it targeted our one farthest away person, which is really nice. And then it kind of beautifully just targeted our 3 most extremely positioned people. Very easy to deal with whenever it does this, but more often than not, it would target 3 people that are pretty close together. We had a weak aura that our paladin made. Our paladin made a weak aura and set it up and shared it with our monk that assigned each of them a target to Freedom or Tiger's Lust, because you are full rooted on Mythic when you get this charge, and you only have like a couple seconds before it explodes. And so you want to be able to get these people out so that nobody is in their circles by the time that explosion happens. So look what happens here. These people instantly are running away. They are moving really quickly. The one person who was in the middle there is actually going to use the gateway to escape, and every single other person in the raid runs towards the boss's head, because the boss's head is a designated safe zone that we are not ever going to move our charges exploding onto. Everybody gets out, and then bang, the charges explode. No damage, no extra damage gets done. If somebody is inside that charge, it will jump to them, but it will be smaller radius, so then it will usually expire after that safely. But when that charge explodes around you, you get a nasty dot. So every time it jumps to somebody else, when it then explodes off of them, they are going to get a nasty dot too. So you really want to make sure that you get this charge set up such that nobody is getting hit by them, which takes a lot of practice, a lot of work, and the way that we have it set up, there are most people in the raid, most combinations of 3 people that it could target. One person will have shapeshift, blink, vanish, something like that will, I guess they don't have vanish if they're playing sub or whatever, but they'll have shapeshift or blink or whatever, something that can be used to disengage, something that can be used to movement immune, like to break the root on themselves, and that way we then freedom and Tiger's Lust the other 2 people, and then that person just gets out by themselves, and we have our weak aura set up to make sure that that's being prioritized. Liquid also has a good weak aura pack that accomplishes the same thing that came out after we made ours. So that one is one that I'll link that one in the description, I suspect, for this video if you're interested in having a freedom or Tiger's Lust assignment thing. Obviously, if you have 3 or more freedoms or Tiger's Lust, this gets a lot easier. But if you only have 2, you're gonna have to do that against the charges. So P2, shield, pushback charges, and then we get spark positions. So everybody has to stand up in their spark positions. And you can see we have 4 world marks around here. We have X, square, triangle, and diamond, and everybody knows their spark positions relative to these world markers. It's the same as P1. Everybody's standing in the same spot relative to each other as P1. We just have these world markers as anchor points, again, with the mages on blue and our DH and rogue on red, and then tanks are up near diamond, which would be up here, and the triangle marker back here where our evokers are located. So pretty easy plan for handling these sparks. But in this phase, the sparks always come out right about the same time as some other garbage, so you have very little time to deal with the sparks. This spark is actually the most forgiving one. You have about 7 seconds after the sparks come out to deal with them and then spread for the next storm wave. So you can see actually not too bad on this first set of sparks, but the next 2 you do have to very quickly handle because mechanics come out more rapidly after that. So first shield, pushback, charges, sparks, pushback, second shield. None of those mechanics happen in too quick succession. The closest would be the pushback and the charges, the big AoE circles. Then we get to the second shield. The second shield you can see again here, even though blue, so I get blue, and even though my goal is to make it eventually to the boss's tail and find other stacks of blue people, my first priority is not to explode, not to hit any red people, but my second prio is let's get this damage buff on me and this other person, and then we can start walking together towards our friends. So that's what we do here. We get together, we get our damage buff, and then we make our way over to the side here. And we are nice little stack. I get inverted here. Again, you have very little time. You get 3 seconds once you're inverted to make it to the other group. So you want a nice big weak aura that makes it impossible for you to not realize that you've been inverted immediately. So this is also playing an air horn for me when it comes out. And I'm running in. And you can see even with instant gamer reaction, you still just make it only barely on time. Now, the damage of that shield ramps up the longer it goes on, so watch everybody's health bars here. But the healers have a 200% healing increase, so it gets a little bit less scary because of that, but you can still see, like, everybody's health bars are starting to get chunked here by every tick of this Storm Surge. And so we use our rallies. We use 1 rally on this shield, and we use 1 rally on the next shield to make sure that people have a little bit of extra buffer there. We also use effects like Barrier Darkness, AMZ, and personal defensives against these shields as well. So after the second shield, again, we get a brief AFK, and then this is the hectic part of P2. We go sparks. After these sparks, it's immediately a Tempest Wave pushback, so we need to spread and handle these sparks. You can see one almost exploded in the middle there. If 1 spark explodes, it's a wipe. So you need to make sure you stop all of them. We stopped that one with 0.1 seconds to spare, so it was fine. So the sparks finish up. You get this pushback, everybody gets back in, and then it's immediately charges. So you can see everybody's kind of spread for charges here. Everybody's kind of spread, but we get targeted. So we have a druid that can shapeshift. we have a mage that can blink, and we have a paladin. So we actually have 2 people that can handle it themselves, and we have a Tiger's Lesson of Freedom. So you can see those abilities instantly go out to free people from their roots. Our mage is just blinking off to the side, very good. Our person in the back there is running off to that side. And then we have one person in the middle who is horsing and running towards the other safe side. And by doing this, we almost get everybody out of the charges, but not quite. Our hunter is slow and gets hit by the circle. And if anybody is in that circle, it will jump to the closest person. It will only ever jump to one person, but it will jump to the closest person that was inside that circle. And you can see it's a little bit smaller the second time, and so everybody can pretty easily get out of this circle. But now watch this hunter's health bar. Because he has that dot, he is actually going to be under quite a bit of threat here during this knockback. Very nearly dies as a result of having that dot. Stuff like GS, Turtle committed here on those players with the dot against that pushback. If you have the lingering charge dot, you are going to die if stuff isn't pressed, is basically the way that this fight works. So that is why we want to keep it on as few people as possible, especially in this phase. It's actually a little bit less deadly in P3. So Sparks, pushback, charges. Pushback is what we just saw. Now we get to our next set of Sparks, and this Sparks is also a very quick, hectic one that needs to be dealt with in a very short amount of time. So this set of Sparks, we need to kill very quickly because immediately we now need to spread for our absorb shield, right? For making sure that we're not stacked on top of anybody else because we'll get opposite marks as them and explode. So look how quick that timing is. Sparks are dropped. The sparks appear. The boss does Electrified Jaws and then immediately is casting the absorb shield. So you have about 5 seconds after these sparks drop to get spread and to kill all the sparks, which is spamming and front-loading your AoE CC effects to make sure that those sparks get killed. And then we are stacking up again for our inversions. We use Symbol of Hope here, so everybody can use their defensives, and they will get them back for later in the fight. This is also where my rally is used. I try and time it such that it doesn't fall off before the shield does. You can see there 2 seconds to spare on the rally before it fell off. And that is the end of P2. The way that damage in this phase works, damage to that last shield is actually kind of bad for beating the DPS check of this fight. But the DPS check isn't that hard, and so you still want to break that shield quickly because it makes you safer. But in theory, for damage optimization, you want as little as possible on that last shield because the boss phases as soon as the shield's broken. So you want to use your damage cooldowns when the boss is actually taking damage earlier in the phase instead. But don't worry about that too much. General rule of thumb is you want to break the first shield, before 15 seconds have elapsed on it. The second and third shields, you want to break ideally before 20 seconds have elapsed on them. 19 is already starting to get pretty scary. We broke both of ours around the 18-second mark on this pull. There are some guilds that commit more to it and kill it faster, and they just do a little bit less boss damage, and that is fine too. And then you enter the second intermission, which I will be making a video about as well. So hope you enjoyed this one. Hope you're enjoying following along with Raszageth. Whether or not you're interested in ever progressing this fight, I hope that this video is sort of interesting for you. It's a new experiment for me to make a guide for an end boss in this format, so do let me know what you think of it. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.